Hello, my name is Kat, and today I'm going to talk about my most owned authors. So I was gazing at my bookshelves, as I often do, and I started noticing which author names popped out at me a lot. I started counting books and trying to determine which authors accounted for the largest chunks of my library, and I found it really interesting, so I wanted to make a video about it. So I have here a list of my 10 most owned authors, and these 10 authors are responsible for 86 of my books. And most of these authors are what I consider auto-buy authors, meaning I will buy pretty much any book they publish, even not knowing too much about it. Like, just the fact that they wrote it means I want it. Now, before I get into this list, I do want to quickly add that there are some authors who, strictly by the numbers, should be on this list. But if they're not auto-buy authors for me, I bumped them for someone who is. For example, I have these 10 books by Louise Renison, but I don't consider her an auto-buy author, so she is not actually on this list. Sorry, Louise Renison. You're not watching this, but sorry. But yeah, let's jump into this list of my top 10 most owned auto-buy authors. That's a mouthful. Let's go! So first up, I have my #1 most owned author. With 13 books, I have Rick Riordan. I have the 3 books of the Kane Chronicles trilogy, the 5 books of the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, the first 4 books of the Heroes of Olympus series, and you better believe I'll be buying that 5th one as soon as I possibly can. It is my most anticipated book of this fall. Like, I'm going to buy it the second I am able to. And finally, I have The Maze of Bones, the first book in the 39 Clues series. Next up, with 12 books, I have Scott Westerfeld. I have the Uglies trilogy and the companion to the trilogy, Extras. Then I have Peeps and its sequel, The Last Days, even though the covers don't match. These books do go together. Then I have So Yesterday, which I believe is a standalone. I have an advanced reader copy of Afterworlds, which is coming out this fall, and yes, I will be buying a nice, beautiful hardcover when that is available. Then I have the first book in the Midnighter series. I still need to pick up the rest of the series though. And finally, by Scott Westerfeld, I have the Leviathan trilogy. Next up, with 11 books, I have J.K. Rowling. First, of course, I have the 7 books of the Harry Potter series. Then I have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, The Casual Vacancy, and finally on my Kindle I have her 2 Robert Galbraith books, The Cuckoo's Calling and The Silkworm. Coming in next with 10 books I have Holly Black. First I have The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, The Curse Workers trilogy, then I have the Modern Fairy Tales trilogy, The Poison Eaters and Other Stories, Doll Bones, and finally I have an arc of The Iron Trial, which is co-written by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. And guess who's next on this list? Cassandra Clare, also with 10 books. So again, I have The Iron Trial by both Holly and Cassie. Then I have the 6 books of the Mortal Instruments series, and the 3 books of the Infernal Devices trilogy. Next up, with 7 books, I have Maggie Stiefvater. So I have the Shiver trilogy, and also an advanced reader copy of Sinner, which is a companion to the trilogy. Then I have the Scorpio Races, and the first 2 books in the Raven Cycle Quartet. Next up, I have 6 books by Liva Bray. First, I have the Gemma Doyle trilogy, then I have Beauty Queens, Going Bovine, and finally, The Diviners. Next up, also with 6 books, I have Kirsten White. First, I have the 3 books of the Paranormalcy trilogy. Then I have the 2 books of the Mind Games duology. And finally, the Chaos of Stars, which is a standalone. Next up, I have 6 books by Laini Taylor. So first, I have Blackbringer, the first book in the Fairies of Dreamdark series. And then I also have an audiobook of the sequel, Silksinger. Then I have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, my favorite trilogy ever. And finally, I have Lips Touch 3 Times, which is a collection of 3 short stories, each revolving around a kiss. And finally, also with 6 books, actually there are quite a few authors who have 6 books on my shelves, and this one might be kind of stretching it number-wise, but he's one of my favorites, so I had to include him, and he is John Green! So I have here every book John Green has published, starting with Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, Will Grayson, which was co-written with David Levithan, The Fault in Our Stars, and I also have the audiobook read by John Green. And finally, I have Let It Snow, which is actually a collection of 3 interconnected novellas, and one of them is by John Green, so I'm counting it. Alright, there you have it. Those are my top 10 most owned auto-buy authors, and that is everything I wanted to talk about in this video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great night, and I will have another vlog up soon, so I will see you then. Goodbye! Scott Westerfeld, Come to Me Books by Scott Westerfeld. Ooh, book number 1. I'm gonna lose you. Meh. Okay. Too soon. I hate it when books fall. It makes me so mad. Don't fall. You stupid book. Stop falling. You're the worst. Oh, why are all my arcs on the floor in the corner? Because I don't have enough shelf space, that's why. William Herondale!